In our last episode, we either worked with Dr. Curling to release aerosolized FEV into the oil rig's ventilation system, worked with Tom Murray to cause a reactor meltdown, or blew up the computers controlling the reactor, also leading to a meltdown. No matter what we chose to do, we hightailed it out of there, taking the escape route all the way back up to the top floor and out the exit grid to the entrance. But upon arriving at the oil rig entrance, we find a squadron of Enclave soldiers. Talking to one, "Halt! What are you doing here?" he says. "Well, just who are you, we can ask." And he says, "Sergeant Granite of EC Company." "EC Company, we can ask?" And he says, "Enclave Control Company. We're responsible for perimeter defense." Usually, that is. "Oh, I see. Well, what do you mean by usually?" "Well, you know, that freak, Agent Horrigan, just stormed past here. He's waiting for someone to try and make a break for it." "Who's that, we can ask?" And he says, "He's some genetically engineered freak is what he is. Used to be the president's bodyguard. Secret Service agent Frank Horrigan. Now he's more than half machine." A Secret Service agent, and then we remember. Dr. Curling told us that he did a small experiment with FEV on one of their own Secret Service agents before deciding to use it as a poison. Could this Secret Service agent be the same genetically engineered freak this soldier was describing? Sounds like bad news, we can say. And he says, "Oh, that he is. And worse, he's going to mop the floor with you. He's tough, fast, and just plain mean. I've seen what he likes to do to mutants, and it ain't pretty." "Well, I'm not a mutant," we can say. "And, what did he do?" "I don't like to talk about it," says Sergeant Granite. "It gives me nightmares. Let's just say that those walls aren't covered with rust." "Exactly. Sounds like I'm gonna have a hard time getting past him," we can say. And he says, "That's the understatement of the year. I pity you, pal. Really do." And the Chosen One can say, "Pity me? You should feel bad for yourself. Your power plant's control computer got fried, and now you're headed for a meltdown. You're all dead men. Unless this is a speech check. And if we fail it," Sergeant Granite says, "Oh, yeah, tell me another one. If the reactor's scragged, how come the lights are still on? Huh, Smarty?" "Tell me another one." And we can try to reason with him and say, "Well, that's just the emergency lighting. Hey, I saw where the computer was. It's not broken, it's gone. I'm telling you, you're all going down for the count. Unless..." But Sergeant Granite says, "Don't you tell a pretty story. You make me laugh. You know, I think you might even last over the 1-minute mark with Horrigan. That would be a new record. Good luck, Mutie." And the Chosen One can say, "Gee, aren't you generous? I'd better warm up first. On you and your squad." And with that, EC Company turns hostile, and we have to fight through them. But if we pass the speech check, he says, "Unless..." "Unless what?" And the Chosen One can say, "Unless you help me get past Horrigan to get to my ship." And he says, Okay. I can't talk for everyone, but my squad and I will do our best to help you put that freak Horrigan away for good. I don't want to drown like no rat." "Good thinking, we can say. Let's go get him. We've got to get out of here." With that, EC Company moves west into the room. Following close behind, we enter the room to see a very familiar figure.
"You've gotten a lot farther than you should have. But then you haven't met Frank Horrigan either. Your ride's over, Mutie. Time to die."
It's the giant mutant in power armor. The guy who killed the Deathclaws in Fall 13. The guy who killed Matt in San Francisco. And here he is, blocking our path. Frank Horrigan. Huh, we can say? Frank who?
Me, Frank Horrigan. That's who. United States Secret Service. You aren't going anywhere from here.
I'm going past you whether you like it or not.
Making our reactor meltdown means that things are going to be pretty hot in here soon. Pity you won't live long enough to see it. You're not a hero. You're just a walking corpse.
Hold on. Let's talk this over.
We just did. Time for talking's over.
And with that, he attacks. Now, it is convenient that Frank Horrigan intercepts us here, right where we left all of our companions. However, after Frank attacks, all of the machine gun turrets that were previously neutral to us turn hostile as well. We now have to fight this monster from hell and half a dozen machine gun turrets. Needless to say, it's an extremely difficult fight. But there is an easier way past Frank Horrigan. After convincing EC Company to assist us, we can slowly sneak into the room. EC Company walks forward, but they stop, waiting for us to finish our job. We can creep forward and activate the terminal. This is the first terminal we read upon arrival, and there was an entry here that piqued our interest at the time, but we didn't have the credentials. Logging into the President's user account, and now that we have the Presidential Passkey Security Override key that we got on Dick Richardson's body, we can choose the Counterinsurgency. And this time, we can activate it. Presidential Security Passkey recognized. Good day, Mr. President. Emergency Counterinsurgency Protocol initiated. Target acquired. And the chosen one can say, I think I'll stand back and see what happens. With that, the machine gun turrets lining the perimeter of the room attack Frank Horrigan. We recall that the counterinsurgency program instructs base security to attack previously loyal soldiers who have rebelled. By activating the counterinsurgency plan, we've fooled the security system into thinking that Frank Horrigan is instigating an armed rebellion. And then, so as not to be mistaken, as part of this rebellion, EC Company attacks Horrigan, as does our companions. In this way, Frank Horrigan is surrounded, being attacked from all sides. Our companions attacking from the north, EC Company attacking from the east, yours truly attacking from the south, and the machine gun turrets attacking from all around. Despite this, Frank Horrigan is a tank. He soaks up bullets and spits them back out. After a long fight, and possibly the deaths of EC Company, at last, Frank Horrigan falls. Moving forward to inspect the corpse.
You haven't won here. You and your muty bastard friends are gonna join me in a big ol' mushroom cloud send-off. I just triggered the self-destruct. The work will go on. You didn't do nothing here except seal your own death warrants. Duty. Honor. Courage. Semper Fi.
And with that, Secret Service agent Frank Horrigan dies. We can't loot his body. All we can do now is race out the door to join our tribespeople and the Vault 13 citizens on the PMV Valdez and to make our escape back to San Francisco. And with that, Fallout 2 ends. As with Fallout 1, there are a lot of problems with the ending slides for Fallout 2. Some of them are missing the voice narration, some of them are missing the visible slide, some of them have been programmed incorrectly so that they don't even work. And so, for this video, I recreated them here as they were intended to be unlocked.
After the Enclave's destruction, the refugees of Arroyo and Vault 13 resettled, building a new community with the aid of the Garden of Eden creation kit. Finding themselves hundreds of miles from their vault, the members of Vault 13 chose to join the villagers in establishing a new community, and their technical expertise, combined with the villagers' survival skills, allowed the new settlement to grow and prosper. 2 generations of the same bloodline were reunited, and their savior, the Chosen One, became Elder, presiding over the village in the years to come.
If our village elder survives the oil rig and escapes with us on the PMV Valdez,
Arroyo's elder lived for many years after the destruction of the Enclave. She was pleased that the ancient separation between Vault 13 and the Vault Dweller had been reconciled, and many were the times she told you that she wished the Vault Dweller were alive to have seen the reconciliation take place. The elder passed away in her sleep, certain that the safety of your new village had been secured and was now flourishing. Many of the older Arroyo residents believe that she now lives in the Vault of the Sky, telling the Vault Dwellers of your brave deeds.
if we delivered the message from the town of MODOK to the Slags, and then joined MODOK in attacking the Slags.
Armed with flares and clubs, the people of MODOK invaded the Slags' underground city. The Slags were quickly defeated, and the MODOK residents slaughtered every man, woman, and child they found. Rumor of this vicious attack spread far and wide, and fear motivated MODOK's neighbors to attack and destroy the town.
If instead we delivered the message and refused to help the Slags, or killed all of the Slags ourselves,
the extermination of the Slags only created new problems for MODOK. Unable to find the Slags' underground cistern to sustain the crops, MODOK was hit hard by the resultant drought. Over the next several years, the people of MODOK either moved away or died of starvation.
if we just didn't bother to deliver MODOK's message to the Slags, but we also didn't kill them, we get the following ending. However, this ending has no voiced narration, so instead I'll read it. The drought lasts for another 7 long years. Even though the residents of MODOK attempted to weather the drought, their dreams, along with their crops, withered to dust. But if we made peace between the town of MODOK and the Slags,
relations between the Slags and the residents of MODOK flourished. Between the two peoples, MODOK prospered and became a major farming community, supplying all the outlying regions with food.
if the Chosen One killed both Metzger and Rebecca in the den,
Without any viable economy, the den soon vanished into the wasteland.
if the Chosen One did not kill Metzger, but instead killed Big Jesus Mordino in New Reno,
Metzger's business in the slave trade soon faded with the removal of the Mordino family. The den continued to attract criminals, and Metzger's business practices delved further into drugs and prostitution. The den soon became a rallying point and a safe haven for raiders.
if the Chosen One did not kill Metzger and also did not kill Big Jesus Mordino,
Metzger's slave trade in the den expanded greatly, giving him influence and power throughout most of the area. Breeding pens were started, and eventually, no one was safe from the threat of being enslaved. Travelers avoided the den, hearing of the evils committed within its walls.
but if the Chosen One decided to kill Metzger, but he left Rebecca alive,
With Metzger gone, slavery disappeared from the area. Becky's casino bar grew quickly, and Rebecca Dyer's reputation as an honest casino and bar owner brought her the business needed to buy out her competition and expand. The den flourished, and it soon gained a reputation for being a tough but honest community.
if the Chosen One turned Vault City hostile,
The slaughter of Vault City has become the stuff of legend. One day it was a thriving community, and the next, The body of its citizens lay strewn throughout the streets. It looked as if raiders had sacked the city, but no bodies of the attackers were ever found. Their vault was plundered of all its technology, and refugees from Gecko soon moved into the broken walls of the city.
But if the Chosen One turned Vault City hostile and also fixed the Gecko power plant, that ending also includes the following.
In a few short months, they had rebuilt the city and restored much of the systems that had been damaged by the raiders.
If the Chosen One never fixed the Gecko power plant, or chose to blow it up,
over the next few years, the background radiation from Gecko's power plant began to cause mutations in the Vault City population, forcing the citizens to relocate to NCR. NCR, however, recalling past animosity, relegated the Vault City refugees to the status of second-class citizens.
if we fixed the power plant, but never revealed to First Citizen Lynette of Vault 8 that the raider attacks were really coming from the bishops in New Reno.
In the years to come, Vault City suffered greatly from raider attacks. Eventually, the situation grew so desperate, the citizens were forced to request aid from NCR. Within a month, a large detachment of the NCR's military was stationed in Vault City. The military presence quickly became an occupation force, and Vault City became the first of NCR's border territories.
If we fixed the power plant, but we killed Bishop's raiders, and we gave Joanne Lynette evidence of what the Bishop family had done.
In the years following the destruction of the Enclave, Vault City continued to stagnate, choking on its own isolationism. Its Vault 8 generator, which was never intended to support such a large population, prevented Vault City's necessary expansion. Eventually, the city was absorbed by NCR, which had spread steadily northward since its founding.
If we fixed the Gecko power plant, killed the raiders harassing Vault 8, exposed Bishop's plan to Joanne Lynette, and optimized the Gecko power plant while also giving to Councilmember McClure the economic data from the power plant, and as long as we leave Councilmember Weston from NCR and First Citizen Lynette from Vault 8 alive,
the correspondence between NCR and Vault City continued, and a few years after the destruction of the Enclave, Roger Weston assumed the head of the NCR Council. He immediately set limits for NCR's expansion north, and in a landmark settlement, passed an amendment that formally recognized Vault City's independence. Shortly after this settlement, Weston suffered a heart attack and retired from politics. He moved north to Vault City for medical treatment and eventually married Joanne Lynette in the following year.
if we kill all 4 mob families in New Reno,
The inhabitants of New Reno were slaughtered, and the city collapsed into ruin. No lights shine there now. The streets home only to packs of wild dogs and vultures. The desert tribes avoid the giant graveyard, claiming the city is haunted by evil spirits. Some say the destruction of New Reno was a judgment from a higher power.
if a male chosen one impregnates either Mr. Bishop's wife or daughter and then convinces Mrs. Bishop to move on from New Reno,
In the years following the destruction of the Enclave, a new family arose in New Reno, following the example of a simple tribal that had once visited their city. They were few in number, but surprisingly resourceful. Driven by religious fervor, they took control of New Reno and put the other families to the spear. After their victory, they sent out many messengers across Northern California, looking for their founder, without success. Many felt that the founder had been taken by the fortune spirits and now dwelled in a golden casino paradise in the sky.
if a male chosen one impregnates either Mr. Bishop's wife or daughter, but instead encourages Mrs. Bishop to stay here in New Reno,
Not long after the destruction of the Enclave, the Bishop family of New Reno was blessed with a child. This child seemed to have little in common with the Bishops, preferring instead to spend his days exploring the wastes. When he turned 13, he seized control of the Bishop family and led them to victory over the remaining New Reno families. He died quietly in his sleep at the age of 73, never having known his real father.
If the Chosen One supports the Bishop family in New Reno,
The Bishop family of New Reno rose to prominence over the next few years, forming a strong political alliance with the new California Republic and Vault City. Many mysterious deaths and closed-door proceedings surrounded the formation of the alliance, but in the end, New Reno became part of the civilized world. The other families were soon absorbed, and New Reno became a prime tourist location for the new republic. In the decades after the alliance, several bishops rose to political power and were instrumental in the passage of several amendments protecting gambling rights and prostitution.
if we support the Salvatore family,
The Salvatore family of New Reno, having profited from their ties to Navarro, used their laser weaponry to burn the other families into submission. The resultant massacre was dubbed Ash Friday and is still celebrated in New Reno to this day.
if we support the Mordino family, and we never find a cure for Jet,
The Mordino family grew greatly in power as Jet's influence spread across Northern California. Within a year, they had seized control of New Reno and expanded their empire, absorbing the Den and other surrounding areas. There was little violence in the conquest, as Jet had weakened all resistance to Mordino rule.
if we support the Mordino family, but we do find a cure for Jet,
With their jet production halted with the discovery of a cure, the Mordino family quickly lost ground in New Reno and were absorbed by the other families. Most became enforcers or slaves, and the name Mordino was soon forgotten.
if we support the Wright family, and we arm them with weapons from the Sierra Army Depot,
Less than a month after the Enclave's destruction, a mob war broke out in New Reno streets. The Wrights, armed with an arsenal of weaponry that dated back to the pre-war years, leveled the casinos of the other families with rocket launchers. The mob war was clocked as lasting a little over 43 minutes, and when the smoke cleared, half of New Reno had been demolished. To this day, it is commonly taught that the Wright family were the founders of New Reno.
if we support the Wright family, but we don't arm them with weapons from the Sierra Army Depot, and we never discover who killed Richard Wright,
Within months after the Enclave's destruction, war broke out in New Reno streets. The Wrights, believing the Mordinos responsible for the death of one of their family, attacked the Desperado Casino. The running gun battle that ensued lasted little more than a day, and the Wrights were massacred to the last woman and child. Their mansion lies vacant now, and there are few New Reno inhabitants who remembered who once lived there.
if we leave the Wright family in control, but we don't arm them with weapons from the Sierra Army Depot, and yet we do discover who murdered Richard Wright,
Within a year of the Enclave's destruction, the Wright family turned from criminal activity to legitimate pursuits. Several schools and churches were established in New Reno, along with a law enforcement body that crippled the influence of the families. Though New Reno lost much of its edge, the city obtained a certain solidity that appealed to newcomers. Many came to Reno not to visit, but to live, and the population increased threefold. Today, the test scores of New Reno high school graduates are greater than many Californian schools before the war.
if we convince the Wright family that the wrong person was responsible for murdering their son Richard,
Though a murderer had been found and punished, the true identity of the man who had killed Mr. Wright's son was never discovered. The murder was never spoken of again and became a closed chapter in the Wright family history.
however, if we correctly told them that the Salvatores were responsible for murdering their son Richard,
Though the Wright family never completely recovered from Richard's death, the knowledge that their killer had been brought to justice eased their troubled sleep.
if Myron survives to the end of the game,
Myron died less than a year after the defeat of the Enclave, stabbed by a Jet addict while drinking in the Den. His discovery of Jet was quickly forgotten, and now there is no one who remembers his name.
if the Chosen One blew up the Gecko power plant,
The Gecko reactor meltdown had terrible consequences for the region. The resultant radioactivity and heat emanating from the reactor killed every living creature within a 10-kilometer radius and poisoned the area for years to come. Vault City's perceived threat from the peaceful ghouls of Gecko was at an end.
If the Chosen One never bothered to fix the Gecko power plant.
Eventually, the citizens of Vault City tired of having their groundwater radiated by the ghouls' leaking atomic reactor in Gecko. In a wave of xenophobic fear and hatred, the well-armed soldiers of Vault City slaughtered the peaceful ghouls and shut down the reactor for good. Unable to harness any additional sources of power, Vault City eventually stagnated and died, itself a victim of its own hatred.
If we fixed the Gecko power plant, but we never bothered to optimize it.
Repairing Gecko's power plant prevented any further radioactivity from leaking into Vault City's groundwater. Though this eased tensions between the two communities, they still maintain an uneasy truce.
If we both fixed and optimized the power plant.
Optimizing Gecko's reactor created a power surplus in Gecko. The Vault City Council, unable to expand because of their limited power supply, yielded to internal pressure and was forced to take over Gecko to control the reactor. The peaceful ghouls of Gecko became slaves and spent the rest of their lives serving Vault City.
And if we fixed and optimized the power plant and also delivered the economic data to McClure in Vault 8.
Optimizing Gecko's power plant became the first step in forging a spirit of cooperation between Gecko and Vault City. Gecko's increased power production became instrumental in helping Vault City's expansion. The harsh xenophobia of many of Vault City's leaders faded into obscurity, while ghoul and human labored side by side to create a center of learning and tolerance where once had stood only enmity and distrust.
If Harold survives to the end of the game.
You still hear mention of Harold from time to time. Apparently, the tree growing from his head has gotten larger, and if rumors are to be believed, fruit is growing from it. The seeds are said to be remarkably tough, and several of them have taken root even in the most barren stretches of the wasteland.
If we discover a cure for Jet and we deliver it to Dr. Johnson in Redding.
After Doc Johnson helped treat the miners during the Great Jet Scare, the citizens of Vault City voted Doc Johnson into the mayor's seat. Under the doctor's patient hand, Redding forged closer ties with Vault City until some years later, Vault City annexed Redding, granting Vault City's citizenship to only 10% of Redding's population.
If we sold the excavator chip to Dangerous Dan McGrew, but we never brought a cure for Jet to Redding.
Several years after the Chosen One sold the excavator chip to Dangerous Dan McGrew, Dan used the superior production of his Morningstar mine to buy the Cocoweef mine and then to reopen the great Winnemingo mine. Dan then used his industrial clout to forge an alliance of convenience with the families of New Reno, trading gold in return for protection.
If we found the chip, but never sold it to either Dangerous Dan McGrew or Marge LaBarge, and we never sent a cure for Jet to Redding.
The gold-producing town of Redding soon found itself in the unenviable position of a scrap of meat being torn by 3 jealous vultures. Sooner than many would have expected, there was nothing left of the scrap that was once Redding. For Vault City, New Reno, and the new California Republic had laid waste to what was once an area of plenty. Nothing now exists but the desiccated husk of what was once Redding.
But if we sold the excavator chip to Marge LaBarge and never sent a cure for Jet to Redding.
Several years after buying the excavator chip from the Chosen One, Marge LaBarge was able to purchase and control both the Morningstar and the newly opened Cocoweef mines. Marge was an easy choice for mayor, and using her new political power, she made Redding join the growing new California Republic in return for a seat in the NCR's Hall of Congress.
If we invaded Broken Hills and killed all the mutants.
The destruction of the mutants ensured the death of the town. Without their strength and ability to withstand the toxins within the mine, the valuable ore proved unattainable. Those who caused this destruction rejoiced at first, until they realized the foolishness of what they had done. They struggled to keep the community flourishing, but to no avail. The winds and the waste scoured Broken Hills from the map.
If we visited Broken Hills, but never bothered to solve the mystery of the missing people there.
Shortly after your last departure, the powder keg of racial tension in Broken Hills exploded. Racist humans fought against mutants, ghouls, and humans who sided with the mutants. The few survivors of the battle destroyed the mine, ensuring no one else could profit by it, and disappeared into the wastes.
However, if we discovered what happened to the missing people there and convinced Marcus to imprison those responsible.
With the destruction of the conspiracy to destroy the mutants, Broken Hills began to thrive. Then, the uranium ran out. The city, having lost its sole reason for existing, slowly dispersed. The residents carried their riches with them, leaving the place a windswept, desolate ghost town. A few holdouts remained, attempting to eke out a pathetic existence, but eventually, they too disappeared.
If Marcus survives to the end of the game...
Inspired by your example, Marcus eventually traveled across the Great Mountains to the east, searching for other refugees from the Master's army. You never heard from him again.
If we never forge a deal between the NCR and the squatters of Vault 15, and if Weston survives until the end of the game...
The failure of diplomacy at Vault 15 slowed the new California Republic's growth into the north. Embarrassed by the failure, President Tandy was replaced by Roger Weston. When the new government finally returned to Vault 15, they found nothing but a ghost town.
If we don't negotiate a deal between Vault 15 and the NCR, but we also kill Councilmember Weston, but leave Vice President Carlson alive...
Already weakened by the failure to annex Vault 15, President Tandy was forced to retire when her own Vice President Carlson accused her of complicity in Councilman Weston's death. As president, Carlson wasted no time in securing his grip on power. Under his rule, expansion slowed, since he was more concerned about lining his own pockets than furthering the cause of civilization.
If we don't complete the deal, but we also kill both Weston and Carlson...
Shaken by the assassination of Vice President Carlson, right-wing elements seized control of Congress and set the new California Republic on a path to military rule. Eventually, the survivors of the Enclave found a new home in the ranks of the NCR.
But if we completed a deal between the squatters of Vault 15 and the NCR...
Your help with Vault 15 launched the new California Republic's push to civilize its neighbors. Though there were many more obstacles to overcome, the NCR now had a foothold into the northern wastes.
If we don't complete a deal between the squatters of Vault 15 and the NCR...
The squatters of Vault 15 continued their meaningless, non-productive lives. No one noticed when the desert wastes finally claimed the squat.
But if we do complete the deal...
With the support of the new California Republic, the Vault 15 squatters soon became self-sufficient and productive members of society.
If, after having discovered the talking Deathclaws at Vault 13, we managed to infiltrate Navarro and kill Dr. Schreiber before the Enclave could attack the Deathclaws at Vault 13, and if we fix the Vault computer of Vault 13...
With your aid, the Deathclaws of Vault 13 became a thriving community. When the Vault could no longer hold their numbers, a peaceful campaign of expansion was launched to claim the surrounding lands.
But if we kill Gruthar, or we never kill Schreiber before the Enclave can attack Vault 13...
By eliminating the Deathclaws of Vault 13, you banished yet another species of the realms of extinction, proving once again that genocide is a viable solution to any problem.
If we turn the Sidhe hostile.
The Sidhe, demoralized and leaderless after your rampage through their town, slowly drifted apart. They blended into other towns, hoping to find a place free from the depredations of killers.
If we kill Dr. Wong, who, as you remember, was one of the scientists working on radiation-resistant plant life, but we managed to not turn the rest of the Shi hostile,
the strain of plant the scientists were growing mutated, gaining a measure of sentience. It killed the laboratory technicians and took over the laboratory in which it was first conceived. It took a massive concentration of resources to crush the being, and this left the Shi poverty-stricken. They disappeared into the wastes.
However, if we don't turn the Shi hostile and Dr. Wong survives to the end of the game,
the Shi flourished, creating a botanical scourge on the radiation surrounding their beloved town. Though this vine could not grow in other soils, the Shi took care to nourish it in their lands. They continued to grow in strength and prominence, forming the basis of a new empire.
if we never managed to get fuel for the Hubologists,
the scientists grew tired of waiting for the Starfather to come for them or provide the fuel they needed. Using a cheap derivative fuel, they launched an abortive effort to reach the stars themselves. Their shuttle exploded moments after takeoff.
if we got fuel for the Hubologists and we repaired their spacecraft,
The scientists ensured a safe and speedy launch of the Quetzal. Unfortunately, they didn't account for having recycled air aboard their ship, and they perished in orbit.
however, if we get fuel for the Hubologists, but we never repair their spacecraft,
The scientists, unable to figure out how to create an airtight seal on their ship, went ahead and launched it anyway, believing that the Starfather would protect them once they left Earth's atmosphere. They perished in orbit. As for the tanker vagrants, well, as vagrants do, they drifted on. The destruction of the Enclave erased all trace of President Richardson from history. Now the title of president is used simply as a boogeyman to frighten children.
we arrive back at the San Francisco wharf. Dawn has broken. It's a brand new day. We rescued our tribe, and we've ensured that the Enclave can't kidnap anyone else ever again. The wasteland doesn't change a whole lot after defeating the Enclave. Strangely enough, despite the ending we get, if we return to Arroyo, we still find it destroyed, and we never again find our tribespeople. But there are a few changes. If we head to New Reno, we find that word of our exploits has quickly spread throughout this city of vice. If Cody is still alive, we find him right where we left him outside the Cat's Paw. Cody's stare breaks as we approach. He blinks as we come up to him, and he gives us a slight smile. "Hey, Cody," we can say. "I ended up saving the world. Man, it was a pain. Who would have thought the president could be such a bastard? Whew. So, how are things with you?" And Cody keeps smiling at us. Well, we can say, "Just thought I'd stop by and say hello, Cody. You take care of New Reno, all right?" Cody blinks and then mumbles something. "What, Cody? What did you say?" Cody blinks, then mumbles again. We barely catch it, but it sounded like, "Thank you." "Hey, no problem, Cody. Saving the world seems to be in the blood. Take care now, you hear?" Heading into the Cat's Paw, we find Miss Kitty very appreciative. As we speak, she looks up startled. "You," she says, "you came back. I thought you might be dead." And she looks relieved. "I was so worried. Risking your life, taking on the Enclave. That's the bravest thing I've ever heard." "Aw, shucks, Miss Kitty," we can say. "It ain't nothing nobody else wouldn't have done in my place." And she says, "You are so humble. I love that about you." She makes a sweeping gesture at the Cat's Paw. "You are always welcome here, free of charge." And now that we've defeated the Enclave, we can say, "So, how about, you and me? Like, And she says, "All right then, Oxhorn, let me just get my coat." "No rush," we can say. "Take your time." The screen fades to black, And when we return, she says, whew. And that's it. We can repeat with Miss Kitty as many times as we like. The prostitutes and townspeople of New Reno recognize us and have a lot to say. Your score is 192 out of 208. You really should have used the mutated toe on Horrigan. This fourth wall breaking little tidbit is a bit of a misdirection, actually. If we use the mutated toe on Horrigan, nothing happens. It just acts like a mutated toe. You should replay the game as a different kind of character. Tom French scripted me. He has soft, gentle hands. Yo, man, only thing better than blowing an oil rig is having somebody blowing your rig. Know what I'm saying? Oh, God. Man destroys the Enclave, thinks he owns the world. Crap! I hear the Corsican brothers are looking for you. They want to do a film based on your adventure. Oh, we'll have to check in with them. Way to go! I was too high to see what you did, but I'm sure it was cool. What kind of chem testing was the Enclave doing? Was there free jet? And the jet dealers in New Reno give us a huge discount. Let me know how I can help you, hero. Tell me your needs, and I'll give you the best rate in town. Then we can head to the Golden Globes. Talking with the guy outside. Man, I heard you destroyed the Enclave. Maybe now you want to get laid? Heading inside, we can talk with one of the Corsican brothers. Oxhorn, I heard about your exploits. How you blew the rig of every member in the Enclave. That took a stomach of iron. And we can say, I didn't blow every member of the Enclave. You see, what happened was, don't be modest, he says. I know it must have sucked. Most people wouldn't have had the stomach for it. But you swallowed your pride and did what had to be done. That's star power. Look, I didn't blow every member of the Enclave. See, know what I'm thinking, Oxhorn? He continues. I'm thinking about a feature film based on your exploits. We'd call it Pull Out, Post-Nuclear Boogaloo. Are we together on this, eh? And we can say, sure, what the hell. I solved this game, let's do it. The screen fades to black, and when we next talk to him, he says, you're a hero, Oxhorn, a genuine hero. I'm not going to forget all the crap you had to swallow for us. And once all the box office receipts come in, the whole world will know too. Great, we can say. Thanks. Moving to New Reno Arms, we can talk with Renesco. Welcome back, hero, he says. Damn nice work you made of the Enclave. Saved all our hides you did, and I thank you for it. You see something you like, you let me know, and we'll work out a special discount, all right? Now we've got a discount at New Reno Arms. Heading over to Father Tully's church, if he's not passed out, he says, how are you? Do I know you? You the one who beat the Enclave like a god or dog? You're a hero. And we can say, I tangled with the Enclave, yes. They started it. I finished it. But don't get me wrong, Father. I'm just a man, trying to make his way in this unforgiving world. I'm no hero. And he says, you're a hero. I got something for you. I didn't know what it was at first, but I figure you might be needing it. Sure, we can say. I'll take whatever you're given, Father. Well, within the realms of decency. And Tully goes over to one of his pews, rips off a board from the seat, and pulls out a grimy, softcover book. Here you go. It's a little dirty, but... And he hands it to us. Thanks, Father, I think. You're a hero. You deserve it. Not many gamers today finish games, but you win the distance. I'm proud of you. All of New Reno's proud of you. Well, thanks, Father. You take care of yourself, you hear? Inspecting our inventory, we find a Fallout 2 hint book. Well, this would have been good to have at the beginning of the doggone game if we use it like a skill book. We gained 10,000 experience. The book contains tons of inside information on Fallout 2, more than enough to modify ourselves for the better. And we can repeat this as many times as we want. 10,000 experience each time. It's a fount of infinite experience. Nice, well, that'll come in handy. The right children playing outside the right mansion have begun to play a new game. Look out, here comes the Enclave. Had my hardened power armor on. That bullet bounced right off. Eat this, Mr. President. The Enclave can kiss my 7-year-old ass. What jerks. Were you scared when you met the president? Did he have big fangs and claws? Look at me. I'm the descendant of the Vault Dweller. Praise the Vault. Eat this, you Enclave butt faces. Try and kill everybody with a virus, huh? Take this, Mr. President. If we head back to Vault 8, the gate guard says you should catalog your travels in the Vault City computer. The Vault City guards call us a hero. Welcome to Vault City, hero. And Citizen Sergeant Stark says, good job down south. Saw the fireworks all the way up here. Moving to the Central Council, is it true that the U.S. was still fighting the war? I've heard you've traveled as far south as San Francisco. Is that true? Councilmember McClure says, I've heard of your act of heroism. We are all in your debt, Chosen One. Then, talking with First Citizen Lynette,
word of your brave deed has traveled quickly. Is it true? Was the government still waging the war?
Yes, they were going to use a virus to exterminate all life. They planned to start over at the cost of all that you've built here.
How callous. How cruel. Were they not aware of the community we had built here?
Perhaps an important lesson can be learned here, Lynette. Isolated from the world, the government was prepared to destroy you without even recognizing the value of your community. Perhaps Vault City should take another look at the outside world and its place in it.
That may be a valid point. Next time we should make a stronger effort to find these remnants of the government and ally ourselves with them. I hear they have great power armor.
But, oh, forget it. Good luck, First Citizen.
Please, call me Lynette. Travel carefully, my friend. We shall never forget you. You shall always have a home here within the walls of Vault City.
Thanks, Lynette. Looks like no lessons were learned there. Then, heading inside Vault 8, we can do as the gate guard suggested and take the elevator all the way down to floor number 3. Then, moving to the central computer, we can access it. Remember when we were last here, we uncovered a small slot in the computer that we could insert our Pip-Boy into. If we try to do so again after having defeated the Enclave, a small window opens on the terminal screen with a smiling Pip-Boy next to it. As we watch, the Pip-Boy looks right at us, winks, then gives us a thumbs up. A red light is flashing beside the computer slot. We can give the Pip-Boy a thumbs up. Fallout 2 development information is being entered into Pip-Boy database. Copying file, Vault City development credits, download complete. Danky, says the Chosen One. The Pip-Boy on the screen waves goodbye, and then the screen turns black. The terminal has shut down. Inspecting our Pip-Boy, we find a new entry, Vault City designer notes. Vault City went through many incarnations. It was designed by Leonard Boyarsky, Jason Anderson, Fergus Urquhart, and Chris Avalone. Scott Everts built the maps, and the brave men who scripted this architectural Frankenstein were Rob Hertenstein III and Dan Spritzley. And finally, Eric Pribish nearly gave his life testing the monstrosity that is Vault City. Chris would like to thank the following people who helped during the production of Fallout 2. Rob, Scotty, and Dan, of course, Eileen Sue, Sarah Smart, Emily Yantz, Ty Dang, who I never thank for anything, Chris Wright, and Tim Winkle. Scotty would like to thank the following people: Dawn and Aileen Everts and Avis Andre, and thanks to Bill Bridges for all the cool Fading Suns books. Dan would like to thank the following people: Split Ends for the great tunes, James Cameron for True Lies, Joe Viscasil for his kick-ass explosions, Chongs at Triangle Square for keeping me fed, Carlos Kotkin for finally taking the plunge. You'll be seeing the premiere of his first film any day now. John Land for the entertainingly unlikely Blaine McCracken novels, Red Dwarf for laughs, and finally, as always, Mom and Dad for being cool. Rob Hertenstein would like to thank the following people: Becky Warner, still trying to keep me out of trouble, Billy Ryder, for keeping me sane throughout this project, Little Ryder, who is supposed to arrive at the same time this game does, and Nicole Roman, for being there. Eric Pribish would like to thank the following people: Tommy Hood Jr., Joe Issip, and Julio Mata for not disowning me when I had to ditch out on D&D. To my old friends Brad and Dave Carnes for keeping in touch all these years. Lastly, but most important, I would like to thank my loving girlfriend Rhonda Loffer for understanding all of the long nights and weekends when work took me away, and for always being there for me when I came home. As a reward for defeating the Enclave, Chris, Scotty, Rob, Dan, and Eric would like to take this opportunity to tell you to go to the computer terminal in the upper left-hand corner of this level and use it. Congratulations on saving the world, and thanks again for playing Fallout 2. What? A terminal on this level? Okay, let's see. Upper left-hand corner. Well, there's one room over here in the western wing, and in this room we only find one terminal. As we approach, we realize that this is the computer the Pip-Boy said to use. Activating it. Whoa. With the help of the information on our Pip-Boy, we access the computer. We have learned tons of information about Fallout 2, and we gain 20,000 experience! Holy crap! And just like with the book that we got from Father Tully, we can repeat this indefinitely. And every time we do, we gain another 20,000 experience. Well, looks like at this point in the game, we can turn ourselves into a veritable god. And that is the full story of Fallout 2. Well, almost. There are still a couple of loose ends that we need to tie up, but we'll have to tackle those in another episode. I publish new Fallout videos each and every week on my channel, so if you don't want to miss it, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. If you already have, but you still feel like you're missing out on YouTube notifications, consider following me on Twitter at Oxhorn. I update Twitter manually with every new piece of content that I publish. I've got a brand new shirt in the shop, Enclave. Boast your support for the Enclave and everything they stand for with this brand new design. This design comes on shirts in a variety of men's, women's, and children's sizes and in a wide array of colors. You can find it on other products as well, like smartphone cases, pillows, posters, mugs, stickers, prints, etc. So if interested, you can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming a patron on Patreon or a member here on YouTube. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon with more brand new videos.